I spend a significant amount of time on the floor of the House of Representatives, so let me just first say how excited I am to be here with normal, rational, kind people. And now I'm going to freak all of you out. All right, so I'm going to give my talk on artificial intelligence by first talking about antifreeze. Antifreeze has a lot of beneficial uses. It can keep your car engine from overheating in the summer or from freezing in the winter. And for those of you who are true crime enthusiasts, you know that antifreeze can also kill you when used as a poison. So I'm going to tell you a story about how antifreeze killed over 100 Americans. In the early 20th century, medicine and drugs were making great advancements, and a pharmaceutical company called S.C. Massengill created this elixir that could cure strep throat. Problem was, it tasted awful. So they added diethylene glycol. At the time, Congress wasn't able to pass any laws to regulate pharmaceutical drugs. Sound familiar? So these elixirs were not tested, and then they were shipped across America. Americans, including young children, started taking this elixir and they started dying. Turns out that diethylene glycol is a toxic substance found in antifreeze. So the federal government then frantically went around trying to get all these bottles of elixir to dispose of them. In response, Congress passed the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And this law authorized FDA to require testing of pharmaceutical drugs before they could be sold to consumers. And since that law, you've seen incredible advancements in the pharmaceutical drug industry and medical innovations. And what it shows is that smart regulations don't stifle progress. In fact, regulations can create the public trust we need to allow innovators to succeed. And we cannot wait for another tragedy before we regulate AI. AI has beneficial uses, but it can also kill you or cause intended or unintended harms. And so my provocative idea is that it is freaking insane to not regulate AI, and Congress has to take a proactive approach in making sure we harness the power of AI safely for the future. So in looking at how you regulate something, it's critical to define, well, what is that something? So 70 years ago, Stanford professor John McCarthy in 1955 coined the term artificial intelligence. And he defined it as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. Since that time, AI became embedded in all aspects of daily life, from weather reporting to the navigation system on your cell phone to robotics on the factory floor. And government and civil society largely allowed and didn't care about their unregulated proliferation of AI. And then something dramatic changed. 2.5 years ago, OpenAI stunned the world with the release of ChatGPT. That is known as a generative AI model, meaning it doesn't just analyze data, it actually creates new content. So as a recovering computer science major, I was blown away by what I saw. I had never seen anything like it. ChatGPT and its model is also known as large language models. They're essentially huge electronic neural networks trained on mass amounts of data. And this was a qualitative and exponential leap in AI technology, so much so that these models now can behave like humans, they can act autonomously, and in some cases, they're smarter than humans. So when government officials like me talk about AI, what we're really talking about are mostly these new generative AI models. And in just 2.5 years, these models have increased with lightning speed. So the initial models, as you may know, were just text-to-text models. So you would type in a question to the model, such as, for example, why was the Battle of Midway a turning point in World War II? It will write for you a beautiful, grammatically correct essay that you then turn into your history professor. Now, in just that short period of time, we've now advanced to the era of AI agents. These models no longer just passively answer your questions. They go out into the world and do things. So imagine that 1 billion people have their own AI agent. Imagine you have an AI agent that can book a dinner reservation for you or your significant other at a restaurant and use a credit card to hold the reservation, or to plan a dream vacation for your family and make all the travel payments, or to research gifts online for your friends and then buy them. Pretty cool, right? Well, it turns out you can also have rogue AI agents. A rogue AI agent could use your credit card without your authorization, cancel your plane reservations without your knowledge, or make fake incriminating videos of you and send them to your employer. Because we now have AI agents that can go out and take actions in the world, that adds further urgency to why government needs to regulate AI. And in thinking about how we do this, because AI is so ubiquitous across so many sectors of society, best way for me is to give you an analogy. So think about a large ocean of AI and a small lake of AI. So this large ocean of AI is all the AI that the federal government doesn't care about. So if you're a smart toaster, messes up toasting bagels compared to wheat toast, we don't care. Now, if your smart toaster can communicate with your neighbor's smart toaster and they decide to light houses on fire, then yes, Congress would care. Now, this small lake AI is all the AI that the federal government should care about, and I propose 3 buckets. AI that can destroy the world, AI that can kill you individually, and AI that's not going to destroy the world or kill you individually, but can cause significant harm. So let's talk about AI that can destroy the world. Turns out your Department of Defense has automated weapons, weapons that launch automatically. So I passed a law last year that basically says no matter how amazing AI ever gets, we're never ever going to let it launch a nuclear weapon by itself. There always has to be meaningful human control, and why is that? Because even the most advanced frontier AI models still make mistakes, and they still make stuff up. So the industry has a very technical term for this. It's called hallucination. Now, when your AI chatbot hallucinates, let's say in writing an essay to you about the Battle of Midway, that could be annoying, it could be troubling, but when an AI hallucinates and it's controlling nuclear weapons, that could be world-threatening. So it's good that we now have some laws on the books to regulate AI and nuclear weapons, but there is this huge regulatory void when it comes to other weapons of mass destruction. Currently, private sector companies that make these models voluntarily put in guardrails so that you can't ask, for example, a model to tell you how to build a dangerous virus that could destroy the world. The model won't do that. But how do we make sure that these guardrails remain in place now and in the future? Their thinking before of not regulating pharmaceutical drugs or now AI is that somehow the market will figure that out. Well, clearly that line of thinking didn't work with pharmaceutical drugs, and it's not going to work in the area of weapons of mass destruction. So we need to pass robust laws that mandate that these companies have to test their frontier AI models, put in guardrails, and make sure that AI does not become an accomplice to mass murder in the future. Second area for AI regulation is going to be AI that can kill you individually. So when your cell phone malfunctions and is not going 55 miles per hour, turns out there's a lot of AI in moving objects, planes, trains, and automobiles. I think we need to have a lot more federal and state regulators who are trained in unique aspects of AI. And when we look at AI in automated vehicles, for example, it is going to save lives. Currently, about 40,000 people die every year annually from traffic accidents, most of which is human error. So let's say automated vehicles can cut that down to 30,000. Do we allow their deployment? We can save about 10,000 lives annually. However, we know that AI is still going to kill 30,000 people. That's a difficult philosophical question. And for now, it's actually local cities that are making these decisions. So local cities are deciding, for example, should we allow or not allow driverless taxis? Third area that we should have the federal government regulate is AI that's not going to destroy the world, not going to kill you individually, but can cause significant harm. And this spans a spectrum from discrimination and loan approvals to bias and facial recognition systems used by law enforcement to the AI that you see in preventing credit card fraud, and also the AI that is used to infringe patent protections and other protections of copyright and so on of creators and artists. So speaking of intellectual property, as a legislator, I get to plagiarize. So I can see how another jurisdiction tackles a problem with a law, and if the law works, then copy it. If it doesn't work, then try a different approach. So Europe recently passed a massive single AI law to regulate AI in all its instances, and now the rules are being written to implement that law. That could be the best thing since toasted bagels, could be a fiery disaster, could be something in between. Time will tell. We can learn to see what Europe does and their experience. As co-chair of the House Bipartisan Task Force on AI, we looked at this issue, and we came to a different conclusion. Because AI has like a billion use cases, we thought it'd be hard for a single federal agency or a single federal law to regulate AI. So we recommended a sectoral approach. Because the AI, for example, that the Federal Aviation Administration cares about may not be the same as the AI that the Department of Treasury cares about. So we recommended that every agency have the power and the legal authorities to regulate AI within their domain of expertise. So my view for the AI of the future is where we are not afraid of the word regulate. And before pharmaceutical drugs were regulated, there were a number of medical professionals who sounded the alarm on unregulated drugs. Now there are a number of AI industry professionals sounding the alarm on unregulated AI. And we've seen what happens when we don't regulate emerging technologies. In the modern era, a great example is social media. And from the past, the example is of dangerous elixirs. So the federal government put a tremendous amount of investment into the area of biomedical research, in the area of pharmaceutical drugs, and put in robust and strong regulations. And as a result, America leads in this critically important industry that is saving lives. Also, it makes it so that when you go to a drugstore and you get cough syrup, you don't have to worry that you're about to drink antifreeze. We can do the same with AI. We can learn from the past, we can do this right, and we can go forth and regulate boldly. The time to act is now. Thank you. Thank you.